Like,
comment,
and subscribe for more content. Notification bell?
Oh.
Ooh, what's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Popcast. I am DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shady.
And in today's podcast, this is the very first podcast we're doing where it's basically one specific topic. And today is all about the Pop Digital lineup, aka the Funko NFTs, which I mean, if you've been viewing the channel for a while, we have been doing Funko NFT content. And we thought as a podcast, we would discuss basically what our initial thoughts were of Funko NFTs and then our thoughts going into them. We're going to be talking about all of the drops that happened in 2022, a little bit of a quick view, which there was a total of 19 drops that happened in 2022. And then at the end, we're going to be doing, I guess I'm going to call it a wish list, but it's not really a wish list of what we think will happen next for the Funko NFT lineup in the year of 2023, since we are now in the new year of 2023. I guess I'll start off first with my overall thoughts, which I mean, I didn't really have bad hype, I guess I would say, or a bad reaction to Funko NFTs. I mean, yes, I didn't understand them at first, but obviously you can watch a bunch of videos on the internet, on YouTube, on how to purchase the cards and how to put them on Atomic Hub and sell them. I think the thing that took me a while to get into them was figuring out what drop I was going to do, because so far there hasn't been a drop for me where it had needs for my Funko Pop collection. There was some wants, but not really needs. So for a while there, I was kind of like waiting to see, all right, which drop am I going to do where it's like, all right, this set I need the pops for. But then later I realized at the time that I started doing them that I should participate in the majority of the drops. And if I get redeemables, cash them in an Atomic Hub, claim the wax piece, so that when there is a drop that is a need for my collection in terms of pops, I can just use the wax piece that I have gained throughout the different drops I participated in and basically cash them in for redeemables that I may have not been able to obtain, including that grail, because that's going to be expensive. And I think with the amount of wax that I currently have, I'm almost there to where I can outright buy a grail at this point. I feel with this, there's a lot of people, they're like, oh, it's a scam, blah, blah, blah. I think of it as you're basically playing the lottery, except you have a better chance of getting a redeemable pop than you do getting the $70 million on your Lotto Max jackpot. It's a slim chance of redeeming the legendaries and or grails. But at the end of the day, that's how it is. It's literally a gamble. It's just a matter of, are you willing to gamble for your chance at a pop that you might need for your collection?
Yeah, when NFTs were first announced, I definitely really loved the idea of it. And then the more I kind of got into it, I kind of started to hate it. And I was like, oh, this is going to be brutal, especially with the first drop being TMNT. I really wanted to get in on that, and I never did. And I was really like out of it. I was like, this sucks. I'm not liking these. But then I started to come around to it again and realize, okay, it's not as hard as originally thought to actually get these packs. Sometimes if it is a more limited piece drop for the packs, it can be hard. But most of the time, if me and DK are both trying to get into a drop, we know that between the two of us, we probably will end up getting at least a couple of packs. So that's good. And yes, it is a gamble. I mean, you aren't guaranteed anything really, but at the same time, you are buying these NFTs, which do hold value, or whatever value they may hold. And like DK said, we can trade them off, sell them off, and collect for those needs. There was definitely a few this year that are needs for my collection, and a lot of wants as well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really liking the NFTs, and I really hope that Funko keeps doing really good sets and we don't see a ton of like, okay, we're going to do this again, but a little different. I hope we get fresh sets, because I feel like there's so many things that can be done for these Funko NFTs at least.
We're going to move on to talking about the different drops that happened in the year of 2022, which we won't go into so much description of all of the items that were there, because throughout the year of 2022 on our podcast, whenever the drops happened, we did do a little bit of description, but just an overview of what we think of the set. Or I'm actually going to let MD discuss about his opinion of the set overall. And then throughout the drops, we will mention what our favorite and least favorites of those drops were. So the very first drop that happened in 2022 was the Retro Comics Funko Series 1 that I believe released, I think it was January 18th, as it says on the drop website. This had 24,000 standard packs and 8,000 premium packs. And the redeemables that you were able to get throughout this drop, we have ourselves the Grail Pop of Popeye with Sweet Pea, along with legendary pops of Flash Gordon from, of course, Flash Gordon, and then Bluto from Popeye, which those were limited to 1,900 pieces. And then the royalty, which of course you get by obtaining the other different types of cards that you can get throughout buying these packs, which are common, uncommon, rare, and epic, is the royalty pop. And this is a Freddy Funko as Popeye, which was limited to 3,198 pieces.
This is an all right drop. I mean, I'm a big fan of Popeye, so I definitely like this. The Popeye with Sweet Pea is awesome. Flash Gordon is pretty cool as well. It's awesome to see a Bluto Funko Pop because we do see the soda that we got. And then the Freddy Funko as Popeye is awesome as well. The one bad thing that I have to say about this drop is that I don't understand why Flash Gordon is in it. It's called Retro Comics, but there's 3 different Popeye Pops and 1 Flash Gordon. I think that they should have just taken out the Flash Gordon and made it a solo Popeye drop rather than being coined under Retro Comics.
My least favorite, I'm going to have to say, is the Freddy Funko's Popeye, just because a lot of the Freddy Funko Pops, in case people might not know, I'm not entirely a fan of, because a lot of them are just, you take the regular Freddy Funko head and then you slap it on a body of an already existing pop, and you can easily just do this by yourself without having to pay so much money for the NFT version in this case. So that's why I'm not entirely a fan of it. And then my favorite has to be Bluto, because of course it's a new character from Popeye.
For me, I actually think that the Freddy Funko is my favorite out of this. I really like the design of it, and I think it's very simple and works well. And my least favorite has to be the Flash Gordon, not because it's a bad pop, but I just feel like it's the odd one out and didn't even need to be in this set.
The next set we're going to be looking at is the Nickelodeon Cartoons Funko Series 1 set, released February 1st. It had 36,000 standard packs and 12,000 premium packs. And the redeemable pops, there is way more than the Retro Comics lineup, where there was 6 redeemables you can get, including the royalty. So starting off with the 999-piece Grail, it is of Tommy as a superhero from Rugrats. Then the legendary pops, we have ourselves a slimed Arnold Shortman from Hey Arnold, a superhero Chucky from Rugrats, Ember McLean from Danny Phantom, and Vlad Plasimus from Danny Phantom, which were limited to 1,550 pieces. And then the royalty was a slimed Freddy Funko, which was limited to 2,000 pieces.
This is a really solid drop. I mean, you have a bunch of pops with 6 pops in the set, which is great. And it spans over a couple of different fandoms, which is good, with Hey Arnold, obviously Rugrats, and Danny Phantom. And then with the Freddy Funko just being Nickelodeon themed, he has the Nickelodeon blimp, and he's slimed, obviously, like the Kids' Choice Awards or Teens' Choice Awards, whatever it is. So that's really awesome. I really do enjoy that Freddy Funko. I like the fact with this drop that you have characters that have already been made in Funko Pop form, but these are just different versions. So let's say if you do collect Rugrats, you might not necessarily need to get this, which I think is good with the NFTs, because it would suck if you have a absolute need to get Pop and you buy packs, you can't get it. It goes way up in price on the secondary market, and then you're ending up spending a lot for this need for your collection, which realistically could just be a exclusive or common Pop, let's say. So the Tommy is pretty cool, as well as the Chucky, because those kind of go together. You have them in their superhero form. And then Arnold is cool as well. I like that he's slimed as well. Like I said, with the Nickelodeon Awards, it's sweet that they're kind of showing that with these pops. And then the 2 pops for Danny Phantom, that's really cool as well. These are brand new characters for Funko Pops, because we've only seen the one other Danny Phantom pop, I believe. And these definitely had a lot of hype when this drop happened. I remember people going nuts for mostly these 2, and I suppose the Rugrats pops as well, people loved.
My least favorite pop of this set might have to be I'm going to have to say the superhero Tommy, even though that is the Grail. I think that the superhero Chucky is a little bit more detailed, although I thought about adding Arnold Shortman, but I do like the effect of the slime. And then my favorite actually is the Freddy Funko Slimed. I mean, the last drop we just talked about, I didn't like that Freddy Funko, but with this one, it's pretty much a complete new mold, and you can't find like a head sculpt with a bunch of slime on it for a Freddy Funko.
I think I would have to go with the Arnold, unfortunately. I do like the slime effect, but you already have a pop that's super similar in this set to the Arnold, and that being the Freddy Funko, that I don't really think you necessarily need to have this Arnold. I think that maybe they could have picked a different character from Hey Arnold to do, or maybe just a different version of Arnold Shortman in general. And then my favorite from this set has to be the Freddy Funko again. I think that if I look at these pops, the one that I'd want to add to my collection would be the Freddy Funko. And I really think that it encapsulates what Nickelodeon is all about, and having the slime, having the Nickelodeon blimp with Freddy is just super awesome. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite from this drop.
Third drop of 2022 was the Transformers Funko Series 1 set that released on March 15th. And this was actually the first pack that was released and started the tradition where both the standard and the premium packs had the exact same number of packs available, which in this case, it was 18,000 of both standard and premium packs. And the redeemable pops that were featured, the same amount as the Nickelodeon drop with 6 of them, starting off with the 999 piece Grail, which is a gold chrome Optimus Prime. And then we had legendary pops of Devastator, Hot Rod, Rumble, and Sideswipe, all being limited to 1,550 pieces. And then the royalty was Freddy Funko as Bumblebee, which was limited to 2,397 pieces.
This definitely isn't one of my favorite drops. It's not bad, but it's also not for me. But there are some things in here that are kind of bad. I mean, the gold Optimus Prime is super silly for an NFT pop, in my opinion. I think that that is arguably the worst. I guess I will get that out of the way now. It's the worst pop in this drop. And then you have the Devastator, Rumble, Sideswipe. Those are all pretty decent pops. You're getting new characters for the Transformer line, which I think is really cool. And then the Freddy Funko as Bumblebee, I think that this one is kind of silly. I think it just looks weird and isn't one of the best Freddy Funkos, but I don't know what I could pick that would make this better. Like how Funko could go about having Freddy Funko as a Transformer or being with a Transformer or something like that. So I definitely see why they went with this. I do think it just looks a little weird.
My least favorite has to be the gold chrome Optimus Prime. I just didn't think it was really all that necessary. And then my favorite, I'm kind of in a toss-up between two, but I might have to go with the Hot Rod just because the way that the design looks, especially with the way that the face looks, and especially those nice vibrant colors of the red and orange just pop out so nicely.
My favorite of the set, it's a toss-up. I really like the Hot Rod. I think that one turned out cool. Devastator's awesome as well. I mean, they're all pretty cool in their own way. I think I would have to go with the Devastator, though. I just really enjoy the colorway with this, and I feel like it's the pop that kind of pops out the most and screams, hey, I'm a Transformer.
The next drop that happened was Scooby Doo Funko Series 1 that released on March 29th, which this had 18,750 standard and premium packs released for this drop. 6 redeemables, but 1 is not a Funko Pop, which I will get into. So for the Grail Pop, we have Scooby Doo as a superhero, limited to obviously 999 pieces. The legendary pops, which are of Ghost of Redbeard, Snow Ghost, Witch Doctor Funko Soda figure, which this is the second time in the Funko NFTs that a soda has been a part of the Funko NFT drops. And then we have Charlie the Robot, which all of those legendaries were limited to 1,550 pieces. And then the royalty was Freddy Funko as Captain Cutler, limited to 2,000 pieces.
The Scooby Doo drop is really cool. You got a lot of different things in here. Starting off with the superhero Scooby Doo, that's cool. It is, again, one of those pops where there has been a lot of Scooby Doo pops. So this is just a different version. So some people might be okay with passing on this, which I think is good for the NFT sets. Ghost of Redbeard, that's a pretty sweet looking pop. Witch Doctor in soda form, which I think is cool. It is neat that you can get sodas in some of these different drops rather than just being limited to Funko Pops themselves. And then Charlie the Robot, this is a very simplistic pop, but that's how the character design is, and I really do enjoy this one. And then lastly, the Freddy Funko as Captain Cutler, which I think is a pretty decent Freddy Funko.
I'm gonna have to say my least favorite of this drop. I'm just gonna say Charlie the Robot, although I was thinking the Freddy Funko as Captain Cutler. And then my favorite will probably have to be the Ghost of Redbeard. The design looks really, really cool. And I almost thought about going with Snow Ghost, but I think Snow Ghost would have been my favorite if they would have made that pop as the first NFT flock pop.
My least favorite from this set, this is tough because everything here is pretty solid. I would have to say either the Scooby Doo or the Witch Doctor Soda, just because there's no chase version of the Witch Doctor Soda. And I feel like the whole thing about Funko Sodas is that you have that chance to open it up, you open the can, and you can get a chase. So with the Witch Doctor, you already know exactly what you're going to get. And I feel like that really does bring the fun out of it. And my favorite from this set, I would say the Snow Ghost, because I do like the character and I like how this pop looks. But yeah, it would be really awesome if it was flocked.
The next drop that was released is the DC Comics Series 1 set that released on May 5th, which this had 25,250 standard and premium packs, in which the redeemables here, once again, 6 items that you could redeem, starting off with the 999-piece grail, being the Batman Rebirth. And then the legendary items we have are the Eradicator, the Gotham by Gaslight Batman, the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern, and the Rebirth Flash, all limited to 2,050 pieces. And then the royalty is Freddy Funko as Batman, limited to 2,694 pieces.
I'm not too big on this drop either. I feel like a lot of these pops are just pops that we've already seen. I mean, we've seen a ton of different Batmans, and I don't think any of these Batmans are that special besides maybe the Freddy Funko as Batman. The Flash, like, that's a pop that I feel like we've seen a ton of, so I don't really see why this is, but there are a couple of good pops in here, and those being obviously the Green Lantern and the Eradicator. Those are pretty sweet because it's brand new pops and not just a new version of a character that we've already seen.
My least favorite, I'm going to have to for sure say Freddy Funko as Batman, and it's simply from what I mentioned earlier. In this case, you have a normal Freddy Funko head that you can easily take the normal one of and spray paint the crown black instead of gold. And then there's already a Funko Pop of that specific Batman that it's being as, which I believe is the first appearance Batman, and you can swap the head and the body between the two pops to make this without having to pay so much to complete the royalty set. And my favorite, I know it's probably not going to be the same as yours, but I'm really enjoying the way that the Rebirth Batman looks. The 999-piece grail, even though it's a little bit of a simplistic posing, I do like the colors that were involved compared to the Gotham by Gaslight Batman, where the eyes here are white and they pop out really well from that black mask. And then the outfit, you have the main color being gray, and then you have those blacks and yellows just popping out really nicely.
My least favorite from this set has to be the Flash, just because it's so simplistic. And with the Batmans, like, they are different Batmans, at least with this Flash. It's just so, I don't know. It's the exact same thing that we see for Flash Pops, and there definitely has been better ones. And then my favorite from this set has to be the Eradicator. I like the way this pop looks.
Okay, so the next set that had released in 2022 was the Kellogg's Funko Series 1 set. This is definitely up MD Shady's alley since he is a huge At Icons fan. This was released May 31st, which is actually 2 days after my birthday, with 15,000 standard and premium packs, in which the redeemables here, there were only 5 instead of 6 in this case, starting off with the Grail being Tony the Tiger Jr., along with the legendary pops of Coco the Monkey, Cornelius from Cornflakes, and then we have Sugar Pops Pete, all being limited to 1,640 pieces, with the royalty being Freddy Funko Diggum, limited to 3,000 pieces.
Yeah, this definitely is up my alley with some Ad Icons, which is awesome, especially for Kellogg's. And this is a pretty awesome drop. I really enjoy the pop that we have here. The Tony the Tiger Jr. was definitely a huge surprise to see, and I think the pop ended up turning out pretty well. And then we have some of these other classic characters like Coco the Monkey, as well as Sugar Pops Pete, which I think are just awesome. It's really cool to see add icons that you don't really think about that much, rather than, let's say, your like Peter Pez or your cereal monsters, just the ones that you really kind of always think of, those big ad icons. And then there's Cornelius, which is a pretty simplistic pop, but it's really awesome to see that they made a pop of Cornelius. And then lastly, you have Freddy Funko as Dig'em Frog, which is an interesting one. Definitely not one of my favorite Freddy Funkos, but I don't think it's necessarily bad.
I'm going to have to go once again for my least favorite being the Freddy Funko Pop as Dig'em. And I mean, okay, cool. This time you do have the normal Freddy Funko hair, and then you have the hat that's involved with it also, and you make the skin green. So it is a bit different to where you can't exactly switch the head mold with a Freddy Funko and then just put it onto the Dig'em Frog. But at the same time, I felt like they could have done something a little bit better. And my favorite is going to be the Tony the Tiger Jr. I thought about saying Cornelius, which I know would be a lot of people's favorites, but it was my favoritism towards the original Tony the Tiger from Frosted Flakes that it was like, wow, I didn't know there was a junior.
My least favorite from this set has to be the Freddy Funko. I don't super like this one, I guess. It's not bad, but I just think that the other four pops are better with the brand new designs for these characters. And then my favorite has to be the Cornelius. I mean, that's awesome to take a character like Cornelius off of the Kelloggs Special K box and then actually turn it into a physical pop. I think is really crazy to do, and it turned out very well in my opinion, and this is a sweet pop.
Moving on to the next set, it was the My Little Pony Funko Series 1 set, released June 28th, 18,000 standard and premium packs released for this drop, which we are back to having 6 redeemables, which starting out with the Grail, we have ourselves Rarity, along with the legendary redeemables of Mod Pie, Princess Luna, Queen Chrysilius, and Sunset Shimmer, all being limited to 1,550 pieces. Then we got ourselves the Royalty, which is Freddy Funko Spike, limited to 2,400 pieces.
I feel like this is one of those drops where if, let's say, you are a fan of My Little Pony and you collect the Funko Pops, you're probably going to want to get just about every single pop from this drop because you have all these different ponies. Definitely think that they're all pretty decent. I mean, I don't collect the My Little Pony Funko Pops, but I think for what it is, they gave you a good selection of different ponies and overall, yeah, pretty sweet. And then the Freddy Funko as Spike, I think that this is awesome. I like the way that they added his like ears to the sides of Freddy Funko's head. And I mean, he's purple like on the face too. So it's a different change than rather than just slapping the head on. There's actually things going on with it. And overall, I think it looks pretty dope.
My least favorite, maybe the Queen Chrysilius, just because of the way that the colors are. And then my favorite, I'm going to have to go with the Freddy Funko Spike. There was something about that. I think it gives me these like dragon tails or Dudley the Dragon vibes to it, to where I just really enjoyed the way that this pop looks, even though I'm not a fan of My Little Pony at all.
I think my least favorite from this set has to be Rarity. I mean, it is one of the more well-known ponies, especially from these ones that we're looking at. But I feel like there was already a Rarity pop. I could be wrong about that. So I just don't see why we have another one if that is the case. And then my favorite from this has to be the Freddy Funko as Spike. They changed it up. It's not just a head going on the body. And I think it looks really cool. And Spike is an awesome character from what I remember.
So the next drop that happened was the Hanna Barbera Funko Series 1. This released July 12th, which had 15,000 standard and premium packs sold, in which this set only had 5 redeemables, all being pops, which the first one we have is the Grail being Huckleberry Hound in the spacesuit, along with the legendary pops of Elroy Jetson, George Jetson, and Astro, all being from the Jetsons, limited to 1,635 pieces. And then the Royalty was Freddy Funko as Space Ghost with Blip from Space Ghost, limited to 3,000 pieces.
This is a decent drop. I mean, it makes sense that there is a Huckleberry Hound in here, and the spacesuit on him looks pretty cool. Elroy Jetson is pretty sweet as well. I like that version of Elroy. George Jetson, this is a weird one. I don't really like this one a ton, but I don't think it's bad. Astro, this is cool. I guess we have seen an Astro Pop before, and now we just have it with basically the like space helmet on. And then the Freddy Funko as Space Ghost with Blip. This is pretty cool. It is one of those cases where it is basically just a head put on. And I think that it could have been done a bit differently considering Space Ghost wears like a mask. But I do like the fact that it is a Freddy Funko with a like poppin' buddy essentially.
I'm going to have to go with probably Huckleberry Hound is my least favorite. We've had a lot of Huckleberry Hounds at this point. And then my favorite probably has to be the Freddy Funko as Space Ghost with Blip, even though, yes, it is a bit of a head swap. But I think what makes up for it is that it is, I believe at this point, it was the first ever Funko NFT Pop and Buddy that we had. We do get to see more later on as we discuss about these NFTs, but I believe this was the first one that had a Pop and Buddy involved with it, which is why I enjoy it.
My least favorite from this set, I got to go with the George Jetson. I mean, it's not bad, but there's not a ton different from this and the original George Jetson Pop besides the color change on the outfit. And then my favorite out of this, I would probably go with Astro. I mean, it's not too much different from the original Astro, but I do like how kind of funny he is posed. I think that that definitely gets the attention of people. And I mean, if you are collecting the Jetsons Pops, you might want to get Astro with the space helmet on.
All right, so the next drop was the Jay and Silent Bob Funko Series 1 that released on July 26th. 6,500 standard and premium packs, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that might be the lowest drop that we have ever seen with the Funko NFTs, unless maybe there was a drop like that for the number for some of the first ones. And this also is the lowest amount in 2022 as terms to redeemables, with 3, which we only seen that once previous with the Iron Maiden drop in 2021, which the Grail Pop here is Silent Bob with the gas mask. The legendary was of Jay with no pants, limited to 2,100 pieces. And the royalty pop was Freddy Funko with Mooby's Meal, limited to 2,600 pieces.
Definitely crazy seeing a drop that is this low in redeemables, but I think that that makes sense. I mean, you don't need an abundance of Jay and Silent Bob pops because there already are a good amount to begin with. The Silent Bob with gas mask, this is okay. We have seen the chase version of the Silent Bob Funko Soda, which is the exact same as this with the gas mask. The Jay with no pants, this is funny. You have that blurred out effect, which Funko seems to be using a little bit more often now. We've seen it with Meredith from The Office. We've seen it with the Blink 182 3-pack, and obviously here with Jay. So I think that's cool. It's a way to get around doing some not so safe for the workplace, I guess you could say, Funko Pops and kind of get away with it. And then lastly, there is the Freddy Funko with the Mooby's Meal, and I would not call it that. I would probably say the Mooby's Worker, because that's exactly what's going on here. He does have the attire on, and I think this pop is sweet. This is just awesome.
My least favorite has to be the Silent Bob with the gas mask, just because, like MD mentioned, there was the chase version of the Funko Soda already. And I mean, you probably have a better chance of getting that chase soda than you do having that pop, especially being the Grail. And then my favorite has to be the Freddy Funko with Mooby's Meal, just because, yeah, it's something very unique for it. There's no body of a Mooby's worker ever in Funko Pop form, so that's the only way you're going to get this. Plus, I like when Funko does this with Freddy Funko instead of just making it Freddy Funko as a certain character.
My least favorite has to be the gas mask Silent Bob, and just because, yeah, we have it as the chase for the soda, so I don't think you really need it in Funko Pop form. And my favorite is the Mooby's Worker Freddy Funko. That's awesome. I really enjoy the Mooby's aspect of Jay and Silent Bob, so I think that this makes so much sense for this drop.
All right, so the next drop we have was the Avatar Legends Series 1 set released August 9th, in which this had 31,250 standard and premium packs sold, which we have 6 redeemable items here. First off being the Grail, being Fire Nation Aang from Avatar The Last Airbender. Then we got the legendary pops of Bolin as Nuktuk from The Legend of Korra, Painted Lady from Avatar The Last Airbender, Kuruk from Avatar The Last Airbender, and Varric from The Legend of Korra, all being 2,125 pieces. And then the royalty being Freddy Funko in Aang costume, limited to 4,160 pieces.
This is a cool drop. I really like how you have pops for Avatar as well as Legend of Korra. I think that makes a lot of sense so that you're not just limited to the pops for Avatar, considering they are the same like world, I guess you could say. And these pops look sweet. I mean, usually anime like pops do look pretty awesome. And there are some standout ones like the Painted Lady. That's a really awesome figure, as well as I believe the Keurig, I believe is how it's pronounced. I remember that a lot of people were definitely super hyped for that pop when this drop happened. And the Freddy Funko as Aang, I think that's pretty sweet. It's so obvious that that's what they would do, but they executed it very well.
I might have to go with Bolin as Nuktuk. Gonna think is my least favorite. And my favorite has to be the Painted Lady, just because the detail on that figure looks really awesome. And it was definitely the fan favorite of this set.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. My least favorite is the Bolin as Nuktuk. I feel like there's just the least amount going on with this pop. And the Painted Lady has to be my favorite. I mean, there's a cool amount of detail. It is a nice big figure because the way the hood/hat work with this pop. But the Freddy Funko as Aang is definitely a close second because, like I said, they executed that pop very well.
The next set that was released was the Power Rangers Funko Series 1 set, released August 23rd, which had 22,500 standard and premium packs sold, in which we have 6 redeemable items. First being the Grail of the Green Ranger with the Sword of Darkness. And then we have legendary pops of Ranger Slayer, Red Ranger with the Dragon Shield, Power Sword, and Dragon Dagger, Scorpina, and Zordon being limited to 1,875 pieces. And then the royalty was Freddy Funko Megazord, limited to 2,400 pieces.
This drop is awesome. I'm a huge fan of Power Rangers. And yeah, I think that they executed these pops very, very well for what you get in this drop because there is a decent selection. Obviously, starting with the Rangers, you got the Green Ranger, which, rest in peace, he did pass away, the actor who plays as the Green Ranger. So this is definitely a grail pop at this point. People definitely want to get their hands on it. The Ranger Slayer is pretty sweet as well. I really like how the pose with the bow and arrow turned out with this pop. The Red Ranger is awesome. That is my favorite Power Ranger. So it's cool to see that you get the Red Ranger with this drop. Scorpino is definitely a surprise for me when I seen the pops for this drop, and I think that that's an awesome addition to the set. And Zordon, which is hilarious to see Zordon in Funko Pop form, but I do think that it works well. I mean, just stick a generic male Funko Pop head in there, and it's hilarious and it's awesome. And then lastly, the Freddy Funko as Megazord. This is kind of the same thing with the Bumblebee, but I think that this one did turn out better than that Transformers Bumblebee.
My least favorite, I'm going to have to go with maybe Ranger Slayer. And then my favorite, I'm going to have to go with Freddy Funko's Megazord. And I almost thought about Zordon, except there's something about it that looks a bit awkward and that they could have done something a little bit better.
My least favorite, I have to go with the Freddy Funko as Megazord. Just because, I don't know, I feel like it could have been done a lot better if it was like, let's say, a body of the blue or black Ranger, and then you slap Freddy Funko's head on there, which sometimes we don't like that, but I think in this case, it would have turned out better than the way that this Freddy Funko looks, because it is just a little bit awkward. And then my favorite from the set has to be Zordon. That is an awesome pop, in my opinion, and I like the way they executed it. It does look a little bit weird, but I think that that's exactly what Funko would have to do for this pop, so they did it well.
The next set we have here is the DC Comics Series 2 drop, released September 6th, which had a total of 50,000 standard and premium packs, being the most packs ever sold, to the point to where the sale ended and did not sell out. So the remaining packs that didn't sell were completely burned. For the redeemables, there are 6 different redeemables for this, starting off with the Grail being the Azrael Batman. Then for the legendaries, we have the Parallax Hal Jordan, Justice Armor Batman, Earth 23 Superman, and the Green Arrow Connor Hawk, all being limited to 4,250 pieces, and the royalty for this being the Freddy Funko as the Riddler, limited to 6,000 pieces.
This is kind of the same as the other DC drop, where it feels like a lot of these pops don't necessarily need to be NFT pops, but I guess that is good for me because I didn't have to participate in this to get any of my wants from this. And then you have the Freddy Funko as the Riddler, which is pretty cool. I like that. It is simplistic. You have obviously the bandana over his head, which does give it that added touch. So yeah, I do think that that's a good character to go with the Riddler, rather than, let's say, another Freddy Funko as Batman, or let's say if they decided to go with Superman this time around.
My least favorite is probably going to have to be the Justice Armor Batman. There's just something that looks very awkward with it. And my favorite has to be the Connor Hawk Green Arrow. I like the overall design of it. And I will mention, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but I did obtain this pop as a redeemable during this drop.
Yeah, I would also say that my least favorite is the Justice Armor Batman. It does look a little weird. I mean, if they didn't have the Bat logo on there, I think that some fans might not even know that this is a Batman in general. And then my favorite, this is a tough one because I do really like the Hal Jordan, but I have to go with the Freddy Funko as the Riddler, just because that's the one pop out of the set that I would actually want to have in my collection.
All right, so the drop that happened after this one, it's Looney Tunes Funko Series 1, released September 20th, in which this drop had 15,000 standard and premium packs. The redeemables here, which there are only 5, we have ourselves the Grail being Wile E. Coyote, and then the legendaries being the Roadrunner, Yosemite Sam, and the Foghorn Leghorn being limited to 1,635 pieces, and then the royalty being Freddy Funko as Bugs Bunny, limited to 3,000 pieces.
This is probably my favorite NFT drop to date because I am such a big fan of Looney Tunes and I really enjoy the pops that they went with in this drop. The Wile E. Coyote, that's really cool. He has that accordion effect and he has the awesome facial expression like he just got hit really hard. Then you have the Roadrunner, which has that kind of running design that we've seen with the one Sonic the Hedgehog pop, where the legs are basically in a circle to give that effect of the cartoon fast running. Yosemite Sam with the bags of money, that's awesome. This is a really cool Yosemite Sam. Foghorn Leghorn is wicked. This is so awesome and is another example of a pop and buddy pop. And Foghorn Leghorn is my favorite Looney Tunes character, so it was awesome to see him in this set. And then lastly, the Freddy Funko as Bugs Bunny. This is really cool as well. I like the way that they went with this, where it looks more like a hood that Freddy Funko is wearing rather than just giving him, let's say, the bunny ears.
My least favorite is going to be the Freddy Funko as Bugs Bunny. And once again, it has nothing to do with it being my normal opinion of Freddy Funko. I like what they did with the crown and how it's over the one ear instead of between the ears. But this is pretty much the most solid set of Funko NFTs that have been released. So it's a lot of, I guess, competition to go up against. So that's why it's the least favorite. And my favorite will probably have to be Foghorn Leghorn, especially being a Pop and Buddy. Although this entire set is sweet with new characters and existing characters, but better versions of them in pop form here.
Yeah, that was really well said, and I have to agree exactly. My least favorite is the Freddy Funko, just because the other 4 pops are really, really solid. And then my favorite has to be the Foghorn Leghorn. It is my favorite character. I had huge hype when this drop got announced, and this is a wicked pop that I need to add to my collection.
So the next drop that happened was the Game of Thrones Funko Series 1 set, released October 4th, which had 31,250 standard and premium packs sold, in which there were 6 redeemable items, first being the Grail of Daenerys with Egg, along with the legendary pops of Jaime Lannister with Gold Hand, Many-Faced Arya Stark, Joaquin Hager, I probably pronounced that wrong, with Mask, and the Hound Beyond the Wall, limited to 2,700 pieces, with the royalty actually not being a Freddy Funko this time, but it's the Wildling Jon Snow, limited to 4,500 pieces.
This is an interesting set of NFTs, and I think that they did a good job with the character selections. At this point now, with Game of Thrones, we have seen multiple pops for some characters, so I think that the way that they went with it with this is pretty decent. I like how with the Joaquin, or however it's pronounced, you have that mask as well. That's pretty sweet. The Hound Behind the Wall, that is an awesome pop as well. And then it's interesting that we don't get a Freddy Funko and we actually get a Wildling Jon Snow. That's pretty interesting. This is a super weird drop.
My least favorite would have to be the Arya Stark. Even though she is pretty much the main character of the series, she just doesn't seem appealing compared to the rest of the set. And then my favorite, I'm going to go Beyond the Wall Hound, just because of the detail involving the face.
Yeah, I mean, again, I agree exactly. The Many-Faced Arya Stark, There's not a ton going on with that pop, so I do think it is the least favorite out of the set. And the Hound, I do remember there being a lot of hype over this pop. I think it looks pretty sweet as well, where you have that scarring detail on the face.
So the next set that was released is the Funko Halloween Series 2022 or Series 2, whatever they want to call it, set released October 18th, which had 18,750 standard and premium packs, in which there were 6 redeemable pops in this set, which the grail for this was Invisible Freddy Funko, along with legendary pops of Krampus Freddy, Phantom Freddy, Reaper Freddy, and Space Zombie Freddy being limited to 1,550 pieces, and the royalty being Jack-O-Lantern Freddy limited to 3,000 pieces.
Yeah, this is another interesting drop. I think that it's cool that basically every pop in here is a Freddy Funko. And I think that they did a good job with a lot of these. The Invisible Freddy, that's hilarious. How it is the translucent pop for it. I think that that's well done. Krampus Freddy, this one is the least Freddy-like in my opinion, but I do think it looks pretty cool. Phantom Freddy, this is an awesome pop. I really enjoy how that turned out and looks. Reaper Freddy, that's pretty cool as well. You do get that cool base with the skulls, which is pretty sweet. And then the Space Zombie Freddy is also a gorgeous pop. I mean, that looks awesome, especially with the alien squid things that are kind of attached to him and how the helmet is actually broken and he's got the zombie effect on the face. That's just really, really awesome. And then the Jack-O-Lantern Freddy, this one is a kind of cute style of pop, so it's definitely different from the rest of the set.
My least favorite of this set has to be the Invisible Freddy Funko. It didn't seem appealing compared to the designs we have here, but my favorite has to be the Space Zombie Freddy. The detail in that with the broken helmet, and then you have that like squid-like creature hanging off the side of the head there. I just think they did a great job with that.
My least favorite from this set is the Jack-O-Lantern Freddy. I think that it's a lot different than the other ones in the set, and there's something about this pop that I don't exactly like. And then my favorite from this is the Space Zombie Freddy. This is awesome. There's the most detail with this one, in my opinion, and there is a lot of depth to this pop.
So the next drop we have is the Warner Brothers Horror Funko Series 1 set released October 31st, which this set had a total of 25,500 standard and premium packs sold, which there were 6 redeemable pops. First being the Grail, which is Malthus with Annabelle from Annabelle Creation, along with legendary pops of Pennywise with spider legs from It, the Nun with painting from The Conjuring 2, Father Karras from The Exorcist, and the Crooked Man from The Conjuring 2, all being limited to 2,050 pieces, and the royalty was Freddy Funko as Georgie from It, limited to 2,694 pieces.
This was a pretty cool drop. I was really hoping that we would get at least one Gremlins pop in this drop, but we didn't. But that's okay because we did get a lot of really cool pops in here. Starting off with the Malthus, this is pretty crazy, and it is kind of one of those poppin' buddies because he is holding Annabelle, which is cool. The Spider Legs Pennywise, that's a really awesome looking pop. I'm surprised that we didn't see this pop in the first or second wave of the It pops. The Nun with the painting, this is really interesting because obviously the face of the nun is behind this painting, so it's very well executed, honestly. Father Karras, there's not a ton going on with this, but it is a pretty decent pop nonetheless. The Crooked Man, or the Crooked Man, this is pretty crazy. This is a really interesting character design, and the way that the pop turned out is awesome as well. And then the Freddy Funko for this is Georgie, which I think is hilarious. And obviously that arm is missing and he is kind of like dead, I guess you could say, with this pop.
I'm going to have to go with the Freddy Funko's Georgie as my least favorite, although it does look cool because obviously you have the arm partially ripped off, but there's so much detail with the other ones that it's very difficult to choose one of the legendaries or Grail. And then my favorite, like I mentioned in previous videos, has to be the Crooked Man from The Conjuring 2. What a wicked head sculpt compared to what we normally see with Funko Pops.
My least favorite is the Father Karras, just because I feel like there's not a ton going on with this pop. I mean, you do have the yellow eyes, which is cool to show like him being possessed or whatnot. And then you have the scarring on the face as well. But there is just something about this pop, like it's the least, I don't know, scary, I guess, from the set as well. And then my favorite, yeah, it's got to be the Crooked Man. I mean, that's a wicked design for a pop. And I know nothing about this character, but I'm very interested in it just because of the Funko Pop.
The next set we're looking at is the Matrix Funko Series 1 set released November 15th, which this drop had a total of 18,750 standard and premium packs sold, in which there were 6 redeemable pops here, which first off is the Grail Neo, where he's doing the infamous dodge the bullet. Then for the legendaries, we have ourselves Trinity, the twins, another version of Neo, and a version of Morpheus being limited to 1,550 pieces. And then the royalty was Freddy Funko as Neo, limited to 2,000 pieces.
I was really surprised to see that Matrix was getting an NFT drop for Funko. I mean, it just seems like not a set that I would pick if I was thinking, okay, what is stuff that Funko would do? But I guess with the hype with the movie and the game and all that, that it kind of does make sense that this came out. A lot of these pops to me are just pretty basic, honestly, maybe besides the twins, which is really interesting to see a pop like that. And then it's really awesome that we did get to see the Neo in that obviously famous iconic pose slash scene. So overall, the Matrix drop ended up turning out pretty decent.
My least favorite pop of this drop probably has to be the Morpheus. I mean, it's either that or it's going to be the legendary Neo. And then my favorite has to be the Grail Neo. I mean, that's one of the most famous scenes in movie history, and the way they pulled it off, where it is the trench coat as the stand instead of a clear Funko Pop stand, was smart on Funko's part.
Yeah, I would have to go with the Morpheus or the Neo as well, just because they're in that like karate gear or whatever in their gi. And yeah, there's just not a ton going on with those two. They're not very exciting in the set. And yeah, the favorite has to be that Neo doing that pose. That's so awesome. And it's a sideways box. I don't love sideways boxes, but I feel like that's the only way that this can be executed.
The next drop we're going to be talking about is the Elf Funko Series 1 set. Probably the most excited I had been for a drop this entire year. Released December 13th, which had 18,750 standard and premium packs sold, in which this had 6 redeemable pops. Which first off, we have the Grail of Buddy the Elf with the Arctic Puffin, along with legendary pops of Buddy the Elf eating spaghetti, Jovi in the pink attire, Leon the Snowman, and Ming Ming, all being 1,600 pieces, and the royalty being Freddy Funko as Buddy the Elf, limited to 2,000 pieces.
This is a cool set, especially right in time for the holidays with the drop. Yeah, there is some decent pops in here. There is a ton of different buddies with, I guess if you include the Freddy Funko, there is 3 different buddies, which I think is a little excessive, but they are pretty cool. Obviously, you have the Arctic Puffin, which is a cool poppin' buddy to see. And then Buddy eating the spaghetti with the like peppermint or whatever was in it, the candy cane and the marshmallows or whatever, and obviously the maple syrup. I wish we did see the maple syrup with this pop though, but unfortunately you don't. Jovi, that's cool to see a pop of her, as well as the Ming Ming. Those are ones that I guess you wouldn't really expect to see in a regular wave of elf pops. Leon, which is just an awesome pop. I really enjoy that a lot. And then Freddy Funko as Buddy, and then that's where you do see the maple syrup in his hand. I think that that's cool, and I like the way that they went with the hair of Freddy Funko, how it is a bit more bushier to really match Buddy the Elf.
My least favorite has to be the Grail pop of Buddy the Elf with the Arctic Puffin, just because you technically already have that same pose with the deluxe moments they recently released. That's a Walmart exclusive, and it comes with a 4-inch Arctic Puffin, and it would be way cheaper just to get that than to get this Grail pop of Buddy the Elf. And my favorite has to be Leon the Snowman. I mean, I don't know who else would say that this isn't their favorites, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with that exactly. The Buddy the Elf with the Arctic Puffin, you're better off getting that deluxe set, which looks totally awesome. And then, yeah, the Leon is just superior. This is an awesome pop out of this set, and one that I kind of want to get my hands on.
And now we have ourselves the very last Funko NFT set of 2022, the Retro Toys Series 1 Funko NFT set, released December 20th, in which this had 18,000 standard and premium packs sold. This had 6 redeemable pops, which had a Grail of Mr. Potato Head Optimus Prime, and legendary pops of a new Furby, Bumblebee Mr. Potato Head, Hungry Hungry Hippo, and a new version of Stretch Armstrong, all limited to 1,550 pieces with a 1.72% chance of obtaining. And then we have the Freddy Funko. I'm not exactly sure if he's supposed to be a player or whatever it's supposed to be called, but it's limited to 2,000 pieces.
Yeah, this is an awesome drop, and it is right up my alley with the retro toys. And I think that there is a pretty decent selection of what you get here. I'll start off with the two Mr. Potato Heads as Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. I kind of wish that we would have seen a different pop than the Bumblebee because you already have the Optimus Prime. I don't necessarily think you need both of the Mr. Potato Head as the Transformers. We could have seen a different retro toy be thrown into that slot. Then we have a new Furby pop, which I think is awesome. I really like the colorway that they went with this. The Hungry Hungry Hippo was very interesting because that's something that we haven't seen yet for the retro toys is the Hungry Hungry Hippos. And it's the green hippo, which I think is super cool. And he is holding the balls that you use for the game. Then we have the Stretch Armstrong. I'm not a huge fan of this one. We have seen the Stretch Armstrong as well as the Chase version with the stretched out arms. So I don't necessarily think we needed this. And then the Freddy Funko, I think that this one is pretty cool. It is a very plain Freddy Funko. He's wearing a Hasbro shirt, and then he has a Simon, which I think is awesome. I think that that is a cool way to do a Freddy Funko rather than having Freddy Funko actually dress up as a certain character / toy.
Least favorite? I'm probably going to have to go with the Stretch Armstrong. I mean, if you're going to get one, just get the regular one. And my favorite has to be Hungry Hungry Hippo, brand new retro toy for that lineup.
And again, I agree. Yeah, that Stretch Armstrong, it's a cool pose. I like the way that it is. The arms are stretched out, which is awesome. But we have seen Stretch Armstrong already with two different pops, technically. And then my favorite is the Hungry Hungry Hippo. That was my most wanted pop from this set, and it's awesome. I mean, I hope we do see other Hungry Hungry Hippos going forward, but having one for now is pretty cool.
All right, so now that we've went over all of the drops from 2022, we are going to be doing our wish list, or I don't really want to call it a wish list. I just think it's more of a prediction for 2023 because let's face it, we don't want our favorite sets to become Funko NFTs and try to work so hard to get them. But at least for my list, I went more of a logical way around this. But there are some sets that, especially one being the first one I'm going to mention, is going to be a big need for my collection if this happens. So that very first wish list, I guess I'm going to call it, is for a Back to the Future Funko NFT set. I mean, we already have a couple of rare Back to the Future pops, so I wouldn't be surprised if they make a set like this. And the way I went around this is that it would be a mix of all three movies, but the majority being the third movie since there aren't that many pops for that. So for the legendaries, I have listed here first Griff Tannen from the second movie, and then I have Clara Clayton from the third movie as another brand new character. And then continuing on with new characters is Lorraine Baines from the very first Back to the Future movie. And I'd imagine her wearing the pink dress from the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. And then the last legendary I've listed is 1885 Dr. Emmett Brown, where he is in the normal cowboy outfit because of that time. And the Grail being 1885 Marty McFly. Even though we technically got one as a Hot Topic exclusive, this is the one where he wears the brown suit and he's basically called Clint Eastwood at this point. And for the royalty I have listed is Freddy Funko as Marty McFly. The next set I have is called the Wizarding World set, and it's basically mixing Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts. And this definitely makes sense, and I wouldn't be surprised if this so happened to happen in 2023, maybe even in January, since we are recording this podcast in December still, considering that a lot of these drops, for some people that have noticed, they are part of Warner Brothers for the licensing, and a lot of these drops have been under that license, and that includes Harry Potter. So for this set, I basically based it off of the Avatar Legend set where it's a mix of both of the movies, but the majority of the pops will be of Harry Potter, and then two of them will be Fantastic Beasts. So the list I have here as a rough draft, I guess, we got a Ron Weasley and Arthur Weasley, which the Arthur would be a brand new pop. Then we have Newt Scamander from Fantastic Beasts, and then some sort of creature from Fantastic Beasts. I don't know exactly what it would be, but those would be the legendaries. The Grail would be a Harry Potter pop of some sort. I would imagine it being maybe Half-Blood Prince or Deathly Hallows, since we haven't gotten that many pops from those books / movies. And then I thought for the royalty, it would be Freddy Funko with the Sorting Hat, because then it gives you a thought. Which house would Freddy Funko be a part of? The next set I have listed down is a TMNT Series 2 set. And the thing that makes this unique is that this would be the first ever all Funko Soda set of NFTs. And what I have listed down is exactly what we have from the very first set, but they're all transformed into soda. So you'd have the all black Casey Jones, the silver and gold Shredder, Blacklight Bebop, the iridescent Leonardo as the Grail, and then the Freddy Funko Skater as the royalty. And then I have a set of pops for SpongeBob SquarePants. We've already gotten a Nickelodeon set. We have not seen anything SpongeBob related during the first Nickelodeon set. So I think the reason they didn't do that is because it would be its own drop. So the legendary pops I have here, I have first Larry the Lobster, Mrs. Puff, I have a Patrick Star, and I wasn't sure what they would do with this, but I put it as the Patrick Show Patrick Star, where it's basically him and he's actually wearing a shirt and it's like green with the like design that's white that you normally see as purple on his shorts, and then it's purple shorts. And then the last legendary I have listed is the dried up SpongeBob from the episode where basically he is hanging out with Sandy and he can't have any water inside because obviously she is a squirrel. So he basically sits there and he's all dried up, and they could make a really cool pop out of that. This one would upset me very well because this is like my favorite version of SpongeBob. It's Doodle Bob as the Grail, 999 pieces. You got to have Grails at this point where like people would really, really want them and not think about skipping them. And then the royalty would be Freddy Funko as a Krusty Krab worker. And then the last set of pops that I have here is a very small set with only 4 pops, and that is the first WWE Funko NFT set. And this is understandable considering the fact that WWE has already been dealing with NFTs as it is, not with Funko obviously, but on their own, and it's through the website of OpenSea, which anyone who had heard about the updates, Funko is soon going to be dabbling outside of Wax and will be dealing with Ethereum and OpenSea for more premium NFTs, which could mean that we could get lower piece counts for these. And with WWE already being a part of OpenSea, we could see a Funko NFT drop. So the set I have here, first off, is Rocky Maivia as a legendary pop. Obviously, when The Rock first debuted, you'd have the crazy hair that he had at that time with the trunks. The Phantom Undertaker, where the one time in 1995 he wore like the Phantom of the Opera mask because he broke his orbital bone, so he had to wear that mask for a few weeks. And then for the Grail, I have John Cena as the prototype. So when it's his debut and he has the colored trunks and the knee pads and all that, that's what I would have. And then the last pop I have here is the Freddy Funko, and it would be Freddy Funko as a referee. I just couldn't see it any other way.
All right, so the first set of NFT pops I have here is actually for The Simpsons, which it's kind of silly to choose The Simpsons because I do want to have a full set of Simpsons pops, and this would make that a lot harder, but I do think that this would be a cool set. Starting off with the first pop, I have Milhouse as Fallout Boy. I'm surprised we haven't seen this pop already, considering we did see Radioactive Man as the first pop in the Simpsons lineups, other than the 4 original Grails. Then I have the Colonel Homer, where he has the cowboy outfit on from that one episode. I don't remember the title of the episode, but I think that that would be a cool way to have a new Homer pop. Then I have Cool Girl Lisa, which I think is interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised if is made into a Funko Pop at some point. I have Monkey Suit Burns, which is hilarious, and I think that that would work very, very well for an NFT pop. The Grail from the set would be Groundskeeper Willie, just a regular version. We did see the Treehouse of Horror one, and I believe there is the other Treehouse of Horror one that hasn't been released yet, so I would like to see a normal version of Groundskeeper Willie. And then lastly, we just simply have Freddy Funko as Bart Simpson. I think that that makes a lot of sense. The next set I have is for Sonic the Hedgehog, and the pops that I've chosen for this set are Rouge the Bat, Sonic with a chili dog, a Chow, the Grail being Amy Rose, and then the Freddy Funko would be Freddy as Dr. Eggman or Dr. Robotnik. The next set of NFTs I have is for Cartoon Network, and those pops would include Johnny and Plank or with Plank, Ben 10 as the Gray Matter, and that would be the Grail of the set. The red guy from Cow and Chicken. Finn the Human with wavy arms. We have seen a bunch of different Finn the Humans, but we did also see the Jake that had wavy arms back in the day. So I think it'd be cool to have a Finn that also has wavy arms like that pop. And then Coco from Foster's Home for Imaginary Kids. I think that that is a pop that people definitely want to see, considering we have seen 3 different Foster's Home pops. So it'd be cool to add it for the Cartoon Network lineup. And then lastly, the Freddy Funko would be Freddy Funko as Samurai Jack. The next set I have is for Pokemon, and this is an interesting set because it's already existing pops, but in their shiny versions. So those pops that I have are Shiny Eevee, Shiny Mew, Shiny Mewtwo, and then the Grail being Shiny Charizard. And then the Freddy Funko would be Freddy as a Pokemon trainer. And then the last set of NFT pops I have is for WWE, and the pops that I picked for this lineup would be Roman Reigns wearing a Bloodline t-shirt, Dolph Ziggler, a new version of Ultimate Warrior because it's been a while since we've seen an Ultimate Warrior pop with the original one that we got. The Grail would be a pop of King Booker, and then finally the Freddy Funko would be Freddy as Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this podcast. If you enjoyed our NFT edition of a Funko podcast, make sure you smash that like button. Comment in the comment section below and let us know what was your favorite Funko NFT drop from 2022 and what do you want to see be made in 2023. Press the subscribe button for more content like this podcast and any other videos we do on this channel in the future, and press the little bell beside to be notified of when that future content gets released. And if you guys haven't yet, follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That will be listed in the description below. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening to this special Funko NFT edition of a Funko podcast, and we hope to see you guys next week. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
That's all, folks. Peace in, peace out.